Oops. Try again. An error occurred. That's not very nice. This is why we do things in advance. You are live. Hello, folks. If you caught me muttering to myself, I love the application StreamYard, which was what we use for our platform for our live podcasting. But any live function will create sometimes live complications. First off, thank you for joining us. This is Bob Michie being my hot seat guest for taking the challenge to discover an ingredient of his secret sauce. I like live because the pressure is part of the challenge. The pressure is, what is this all about, this hot seat challenge, where each of us have a unique value in a very competitive market, doesn't matter what you're in, that people will try to overtalk who they are, that why they're better than what you do, as opposed to who you are. Well, each of us have ingredients that nobody else can lay claim to, our upbringing, our style, our history. And so we're going to challenge Bob Michie. In fact, let me say this differently. He's challenging me. I'll be more blunt about that. This is my 8th one I've done. And he's been looking forward to it. Hey, let's bring this on syndrome. And I find that rather intriguing. In fact, to say this differently, that he has a cold. He caught a bad cold over the weekend. So if he's coughing, it's because of that. But he's so much into the challenge concept that here he is anyway, still pushing forward. So how much of that is bluster and how much of that is for real? We're going to find out before this half hour is over. So I start off every discussion with the question, Bob, what's your favorite pastime?
My favorite pastime. That's a hard one. Lately, it's really been my focusing on my grandson, who is a great kid, and we love spending time with him. But one of my, you asked me this question when we were prepping for this, and I didn't think about all the scouting career that I had, because when my son was in Boy Scouts, I was very heavily involved with it. I'm still involved in it as an Eagle Scout coach. And over the weekend, Facebook popped up some pictures of one of the events that I sanctioned and started with, that I extended with the troop, was turkey in a can. I used to cook turkey for we used to cook turkey for about 75 to 100 people in garbage cans at scout camp as a recruiting event.
Nice.
And people are like, what do you mean in a garbage can? It's an experience, and obviously it's not in a plastic can.
Yeah, I heard about that. I've never had a can cooked turkey before. It's a smoked turkey of sorts, yes?
It's not smoked. It's basically it's seared, because you're turning the can upside down and using it like a Dutch oven, and it gets so hot that I can perfectly cook a bird in about 2.5 hours.
Interesting.
And it's the best looking bird you've ever seen.
Okay. Well, excuse me, I don't want to just take your word for it. So of course, I expect the invite to the next one you're doing, but
yeah, I'm actually not running that event anymore. I kind of passed the reins on that one, and. But we still do it from time to time at home. If we're having a big Thanksgiving, we'll do a turkeys outside just to save oven space.
Right. Well, that makes sense. Now, let me ask you this. I understand grandkid, and it's a new concept, and it grabs every grandparent. But let's say you're somewhere after puberty and age, and before where you are now. Maybe let's go back 10 to 5 years ago. You had run the lottery, that family's happy, you're happy. If you had your druthers, how would you like to spend your time? You had no obligations other than enjoying the experience of what you're doing. Do you have a concept in mind?
I'd probably be out hiking with my beagle.
Okay.
She loves to get out. I love to get out, and she's my pace setter.
Nice. Now, when you say love to get out, is it for the fresh air, the freedom, the exercise? Do you travel to go hiking, walking? Is it level? Is it up an incline?
Doesn't matter. We'll do whatever. We typically haven't really traveled to go hiking. My beagle is not a good traveler.
Right.
But within the past 5 years, I found places within 5 to 10 miles of my house in Parsippany that I never knew existed.
Interesting.
And it's like these little hidden gems that pop up from time to time. And
Folks, the reason I keep looking down, I do make notes because I have a mind like a sieve in terms of memory. So if I don't note it, it doesn't exist 3 seconds from now. Did you stumble in? Were you, as a young child, were you a hiker or a runner? Did you run away from home a lot? I don't. I have no
No,
idea.
I actually grew up in Tom's River. Spent my summers at the beach, but when as I was getting into college, into high school, I actually wound up spending all my summers working at a family campground down in the Pine Barrens.
Okay. Now, was that
So
to make money? Was that because you enjoyed the camp setting?
that was to get away from home
Okay, that's
and
a
to
good
make
reason.
money. My family had a travel trailer down there, and I used that for the entire summer, working as a lifeguard, doing odd things around the camp,
Right.
and even running the store for a while.
Okay. And you're walking. How did you discover that?
Walking,
Oh, it's hiking, I should say. I
yeah,
say,
hiking was a follow-on from the scouting from my scouting career, because as a scoutmaster, we were doing weekend trips,
okay,
and these kids needed to get 3 to 5 mile hikes in. And when I stopped going on the hiking trips, I was like, I missed that, and we found other places to go. You
okay.
know, there's been a couple times where I don't remember which park it was, but there was wolves coming out, and I was like, okay, we're not going to go to that one for a while.
Fair enough.
Or coyotes.
Rather astute. I get a sense that you volunteer your time. You volunteer your services. You mentioned the turkey in a can cooking that you were doing. You mentioned that you early on you were camp counselor. I guess that's the phrase for it, and scoutmaster along with that. It sounds like that's a natural flavor or path for you in terms of how you spend your time.
It is, but I really didn't get into the scouting piece until after my son was born and active in it, because I saw other kids. I saw other kids when other kids' parents were active in the scouting. I could see them doing much more.
Right.
So pulling my son through scouting and being there and being part of another community was really phenomenal.
Okay.
And I met a lot of people. It's really funny that some of my best friends now I met through scouting years, just by chasing and doing stuff together with our kids.
I hear that, but it's one thing. Just a word occurred to me. It's one thing to be involved, but you actually said you became a scout master, so you took it more than a participatory environment and a proactive environment, because a different there's a different burden, I would think, being a
There's
scout master. You have to teach things.
there's definitely different burdens. Scouting is a boy-led thing. Is a boy-led organization. So you're guiding them, and
Right.
you're keeping them in the right path. A lot of the teaching, there are definitely teaching moments, but a lot of
Right.
the skills and stuff are all being taught boy to boy. And that's one of the advantages of a Boy Scout troop is we do have we had a large span of ages,
Right.
so that the older boys to advance had to teach the youngers.
Right, fair enough. And for those who may not know about scouting, for guys or girls, the different levels of achievement. And for those who are coming in maybe a little bit late, thank you again for being a part of our Hot Seat Challenge with Bob Michie. He has a cold, and despite his cold, he signed on. So he was one of the. This is my 8th one I've done, and he's been the most proactive one, except maybe my first person that got us started. So the guy is up to the challenge. And the question I ask people is, what's your favorite pastime? And my role is from that dialogue, get a sense of what's unique about Bob Michie that maybe he hadn't known about himself before, that flows into his business environment. So right now we're talking about the fact, to summarize, that you like hiking with your beagle. What's your beagle's name, by the way?
My beagle is a rescue dog, Sadie.
Nice.
And believe it or not, I actually was able to trace her online and find out who her previous owners were and figure out why they got rid of her.
Oh, interesting.
Turns
Trace.
out they had twins, and it looks like it was just too much for them.
I got that. Now, Sadie, that's spelled Sadie.
Yep.
Now, there's a singer called Sade. It's spelled almost the same way. So you decided not to fancify it or break it down in a different format? Or It's funny how names go sometimes. So,
Exactly.
out of curiosity, you chased down the dog's lineage. You said you found the original master to see why it was moved on. Is that something you naturally do?
I'm a very inquisitive person, trying to figure out what I can find out, and I tracked her down really through online and dental and vet records, just so we had a good history. But I give you another story that you don't think I've shared with many people online.
Right.
Is My wife's known all along that she's been adopted,
Oh, okay.
and it was not a secret to her. But when Chris Christie left office, he signed legislation opening up adoption records.
Right.
And a couple of years later, my wife decided that it was time to go find out.
Mm-hmm.
So we filed for the paperwork. We got it back. We got some information that we didn't have, but it was kind of inconclusive as to the information we needed. But we pieced some other stuff together, and through some online databases, I actually found her. I found that her parents got married.
Mm-hmm.
Her birth parents got married and had a family, and she had a sibling.
Oh, nice.
And February 2020, we connected the two together.
Nice.
And about 3 or 4 months ago, they actually met face to face finally here.
Oh, that's nice. And I have to assume that to have a sense of past history legacy has got to be. We take it for granted when we do have it.
Sure.
For those who don't, it's got to be a very special moment to get to that point.
And it was crazy watching the interaction between them, and it was little baby steps. They're trying to figure out what their relationship really looks like. But
Mm-hmm.
there's so many similarities between them, and my wife looks so much like her mother.
So did she see the picture of her mother at the same time she met her sister? Or was that prior to? Oh,
It's been with COVID, they didn't see each other for a long time because she was out in another state about 4 hours away.
right.
And they were sharing some photos, and when she was here, when her sister was at the house a couple months ago, they were going through old photos, and then my wife's sister looked at a picture and said, "That looks like Mom." So
Nice.
it's amazing the amount of stuff that you can find online, and I actually did have the opportunity to thank Chris Christie for going through that process and making that available to us, because it did bring her some closure.
Very nice. Well, as I said, that oftentimes I'll go over the first 20 minutes to get a flavor of who that person is, and then we'll go into your business. I'm going to switch gears. And again, for those who are coming a little bit late, I teased Bob Michie about being eager to take the hot seat challenge. He seemed to take it almost like an invite rather than a challenge. And here he is. He caught a very bad cold over the weekend, and despite Mother Nature, he's here anyway. So I'm not sure if I have your title correctly. I listed you as a IT security guru. Is that correct, and I understate that, or how does that work?
That's one way to put it. I'm the president and co-founder of MetroMSP, which is a cybersecurity company in Parsippany. We really are here to help people walk through the process and manage and mitigate risk, because we can't go buy an individual product to go do that anymore.
Right. Okay. How did you get started in that environment?
I've been messing with computers forever.
Okay.
And like when I say forever, like when I was in high school, I was actually teaching an adult school class.
My.
Long time ago.
Okay.
When they had those things.
Right.
And
now, were you one of those guys that learned COBOL and other kind of language stuff?
I was in that COBOL era. I never learned COBOL.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually a Fortran guy, and when I wound up at NJIT as an undergrad student, I hated going to school full time. I started working for a research department in there that was really the predecessor to AOL.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an online community, and I got sucked into that and wound up working there full time after I think my sophomore, but probably either my sophomore year, I think I started working full time, which turned out really great for me, because that was the motivation I needed to keep going forward. And I wasn't one of those guys that was sitting in classes all day, and it just didn't work.
Right.
So I'd work. We'd go take some classes at night or there, and I was there. I was in the community. It worked. But while at NJIT, I was actually involved with one of the first internet worms. I put NJIT on the internet.
Right.
Very first email address was Bob at NJIT.
Nice.
And in 1984, there was a big internet worm from the Morris worm, which I actually was part of the tactical team to figure out what it was doing, what it did, and work with people across the country to try and mitigate it.
Okay, nice.
And that kind of planted the seed for the cyber piece, and I stayed in technology ever since.
Interesting. Well, I get the sense, rephrase that, most people I've met in business talk about what they do, and many are very competent at what they do, very skilled, very seasoned, very accomplished. And the challenge to that, as I see it, that's anybody, they say in business, what you do is you start up, look at your competition, see what they're doing. And if you're sharp, you'll cherry pick the best for yourself. If you're creative, you'll embellish it. You'll make it even better for yourself. And so it really is a challenge to overtalk the competition who's trying to overtalk you. So the purpose of this program is, in a sense, to get something of that particular person I'm speaking with in the hot seat to see what nobody else can copy. Interesting. You mentioned the fact of your wife not knowing her real family history, not knowing her parents. You mentioned the same thing with your dog. Now, of course, Beagle, that's different, but it's still lineage. And what I get from you along that line of dialogue is you have a curiosity that you'll poke at things. You'll do. How many people think about getting the lineage of their dog? It didn't cross my mind until I just heard you say it. But you seem to have a natural curiosity of legacy, history. Where does this come from? When you talk about your time with AOL of sorts, with the computer environment, which is to me a pure left brain experience, where you got some right brain stuff also firing off at the same time. And I'm going to refer to my notes because I have a memory like a sieve here. But you talk about you love to go out hiking. And I suspect you do it, and you looked up different places to go hiking too. I think I know a person that they have a favorite place they go all the time, or virtually all the time, and where they do it could be skiing, it could be hiking, you can call it what you want. But it looks like you actually look for different places to go hiking too.
A little bit. I do tend to focus stuff that's pretty close to the house because I found I can do 5 to 8 miles in a park nearby without traveling too far, and it's getting me outside and getting some steps in. But it's funny the way you're talking about who I am, because when I really think about it, I'm a problem solver, and that's where people come to me, because there's a running family joke that Bob fixed the toilet with a button. I have no idea what I actually did, but it was my wife's grandmother that said, "Yeah, Bob fixed it. He used a button."
That's funny. Well, and that's kind of what I was headed forward to. You have an innate curiosity. You need to go back and look at it from a different angle, and the things you get involved in tend to be a little bit original. Canned turkey in a can. I've heard that before. You're the first person I know that's ever done it with any regularity. Again, looking at my notes, you got involved with your son. Some people do sports. That draws them in that direction. You took on scouting as an example. You became a scout master. You learned what it would take to be more involved. And you even made a comment to the fact that rather than be passive about it, you're going to be interactive. You're going to be proactive about it. And if at any point I'm wrong in my observations, please let me know.
No, it's all good.
And you talk about, again, the tracing of the dog, how that works in. You say you love I'm bouncing around a little bit, folks, and you say you love getting out hiking. Do you take a camera with you? Do you watch your feet? Do you look at the world around you? You did mention you're taking the scouts someplace. You know there's some wolves, perhaps a little bit along the path. So you have some awareness of your environment, clearly.
I do take the time to look at the scenery and see what's going on around there. A couple Christmases ago, my wife raided my photo library, and I don't have it up right now, but there's this great shot of a swamp. Yeah, it's a swamp, but it was swamp. The water was perfectly still, and I got that perfect reflection of the trees into it. And she had it printed up for me for Christmas one year.
Nice.
So yeah, I do take the time. Sometimes I'll actually A lot of times, I haven't been doing it. I haven't been getting out lately, but I'll actually go to the park and do some live videos too. Well, I'll
Interesting.
do a cyber talk while I'm walking in the park.
Okay.
Um,
I see.
Basically, just dumping
I,
some of the things that happened during the week.
I see you the kind of guy I'll see on TikTok someday with the camcorder bouncing around with you as you're talking, brushing past branches about your industry.
A little bit, we talk. I've done a few videos around some of the current threats that people are going on, and I might have talked about one or two of the common people that we know that where I've talked them off the bridge when they were about to give away way too much money in gift cards because they thought they were helping somebody.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So the sense I'm getting is you are, first off, you're curious. You're skilled. Clearly, you've mentioned an accelerated, by most standards, progression when you were younger in your industry as you move through your different, I'll say, job descriptions. Maybe profession might be ultimately a better sense of it. What is it that you think your company offers that is not already offered out there by your competition?
What we offer today that's different than the competition is we're selling. It's kind of cliche, but we're selling a complete solution. There's a whole bunch of pieces to our security stack,
Mm-hmm.
and we bundle and test all these things together. So people could go buy the stuff that we use, but you're not going to get the same results because we've got a team of people that's watching and monitoring and managing this stuff behind the scenes. Because right now, you can go buy an antivirus, you can go buy some other protection software, you can buy monitoring pieces, but it's all generating way too many alerts. So our team really fine tunes what's coming out of all these tools to really narrow it down to a point problem to make sure that that next time that there's an issue, about it, because people don't realize it that the bad guys are typically in someone's environment for 100 to 200 days before before they're even visible.
Okay.
And in that 100 days, they're looking at everything. We actually have documented cases where the bad guys asked for the exact amount of cyber insurance that the company had
Right.
because they had the policy in their hand from digging through the environment. So our team is really to be there on a proactive thing to go watch and see what's going on and look deeper into the environment instead of just saying more than just saying, okay, all your Windows patches are applied and you've got a firewall. Well,
Mm-hmm.
most firewalls we can defeat. And we've actually got a little test process where I'll send somebody a link and said, here, run this. Let's see what would happen if the bad guys got in. And that process is so eye-opening. One we ran a couple of weeks ago, I got 650 passwords from that environment.
Okay. You,
And
you brought up a point I was going to make as an observation that my bias and my concept of many industries, particularly with IT security, you monitor, but to me, monitoring implies waiting for something to happen and then pounce on it. Your whole existence that I've heard is you have curiosity. It's not enough to passive. We're in the moment. You need to go back and look at it from a different angle. And you're very proactive about it. And so you've just described the role that you did. You create scenarios, what if scenarios, if I'm hearing you correctly. And so you can anticipate. There's a movie, there have been several movies. Let's say a serial killer. And police have a hard time trying to figure out who that serial killer might be. The smart, the lethal, deadly, the persistent. So they say you got to hire somebody or find a criminal who's already in jail being a serial killer. Because there's a certain mindset they have. It was a Hannah, or the guy that, I forgot what his name was, but he basically will give this poor woman clues at a price to her, the police, the detective. But you seem to be one of those, I won't say serial killers, but you have that mindset of going back and looking at, in a very proactive manner, what could possibly happen to your system as opposed to simply a monitor to let's see what happens at that point. And then we say, oh my gosh, we got to react on this. Am I hearing you correctly on that?
absolutely, because we have to monitor, we have to detect, and then we have to react
Right.
and
And
then mitigate.
And I even have it further that anybody can say we have to monitor, we have to react, and that's what people do. What I'm hearing is when you're curious, you're observant. I still go back to the story of the wolves on the scouting trail. You're proactive. So it's not enough for you to sit, as I hear it, to sit and wait for something to happen, no matter how good you may be, because that's what you do. But who you are, the person, has always been with foresight, very skilled at what you do. So even early on in the computer environment or the industry, IT perhaps better put, that you were creating things that perhaps didn't exist up to that point. You mentioned the fact when you do your TikToks, you might even approach somebody and engage that person as part of your presentation for the moment. So you have a very active mind, and I don't think you do.
You actually just sparked a really old memory of mine while I was at NJIT. I actually left NJIT to go work for Digital Equipment Corporation.
Right.
And I was working in a pre-sales role where I was basically troubleshooting, setting up demos. But the way I got the attention of the people that were there is Digital was doing a demo, was setting up a demo environment for a presentation at NJIT.
Right.
And we had to get them connected to the network. There were 3 different environments that Digital was setting up, and I actually went from all 3 different environments, totally different operating systems. I got each one working. And when I got to the last one, they got the sales support manager for Digital came over to me and said, "We need to talk," because I had the skill set to go and switch gears. It'd be like going from Fortran to COBOL.
Right.
But it was actually Unix to BMS to a PC.
Now I'm going to interrupt. For those that don't understand the lingo, I'm a little bit into that. It's like going from German to Spanish to Portuguese and Japanese in one breath seamlessly and put it together. Yes?
Yeah, so I was using those problem solving skills at that point, and it got exposure. I hadn't even thought about that.
Nice. Well, see, that's my role, folks, to get people to think about something they hadn't thought about before. And to say, in fact, you kind of summarized the point I was working towards, that you could have sat passively, hey, not your program, but you did get up, you got involved, competent enough to do what you're doing, and made it work. And so what I see here, we'll have some time extra to do commercial break, is that if you're looking for someone to monitor your system, I'm sure they're all over the place. You can do a Google search, a yellow page search, and I have no doubt you'll get in under 0.6 seconds, 10,000 pages of people who do that work. But if you're looking for somebody, and as most consumers, I would think, we too think about our ROI factor, our return on our investment. And maybe we had an IT person or company and we got burned anyway. We want to anticipate for our money being spent, our time being engaged, that you're going to do, not because you say it, it's because who you are. And what I see in Bob Michie representing his company, that here's a guy that's, again, besides being sharp, any number of people can do that, but has a curiosity, has a skill that likely supersedes a lot of other people in the same industry by history. And it's not enough to react in a static manner. He has to go out and poke at things. He's got all this energy going on to see, well, what if this happens? What might happen there? And then make the discovery. Am I far off on that?
No, I think you pretty much nailed that. And there goes my voice.
But see, folks, he's so shocked he loses his voice even. That's how good this program is going. But go ahead.
No, I appreciate this opportunity to share what we do, and it really, I think you hit the nail on the head that we're really here to keep people safe.
Right, and the concept here on the commercial side, first off, for those who've enjoyed this or not, let us know your comments. We do audit Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. Yeah, but I haven't figured that stuff out yet. So if you leave comments there, I could very well miss that. If you want to get a sense of more who we are, look at the link below, the hard copy version or the virtual copy, to learn more about Bob and his company. For myself, again, my role is to help you discover an ingredient of your hot seat or your secret sauce value that you didn't know about before, perhaps as clearly. And the art form is to bring that ultimately into your business format, into dialogue, and let people know why once you buy from a Bob Michie or take your services versus the competition up the street. So leave comments. We do audit. If you want to learn more, share us, get and connect with us. Share us with your friends. You can repost the link. If you'd like to be part of this hot seat challenge, simply contact us through any of the links available, and we'd be happy to reach back to you also. Any final words you'd like to share, Bob?
just want to elaborate a little bit on one of the things that I kind of mentioned, where to expand on what you said. If someone currently has an IT person and they might think that they've got everything covered, or they might not. They might have that feeling in the corner of their head that says, do I really have everything covered? I'd love to reach out and talk to them, because the assessment process that I kind of described is, we'll have a discussion about what's going on. I'll send you a link. Click on the link, and we'll find out if everything's covered. And a lot of times things are covered, but typically there's stuff that's uncovered that could let the bad guys in. And that's where we really strive to make sure everybody's safe and secure.
I hear that. So how to send a link, make a comment, or connect. You have your email address.
Connect me on the email or Facebook. That's fine.
Exactly. So I'm hearing you're offering a freebie to come look at your system and give an overview of it. Okay. It's hard to turn that one down. I wish everybody a happy holiday. What I'm going to do from my perspective, rather than since we're into Christmas, we're into New Year's, the day after, or the celebrated day perhaps, we likely won't do a formal hot seat program then, challenge, but I'll give some backstory to what we're all about as an entity, as a concept. So please keep your eyes open for that. Any questions or comments, suggestions, share back. This was very nice, Bob. Thank you for, despite your code, or because of your code, you push forward anyway. That's just who this guy is as I see it. If you're looking for that kind of person to represent your business, in my world, Bob is the go-to guy. Have a good holiday, everybody. Enjoy, and please give us some feedback and share us. Like us and subscribe on top of that. Take care of everybody.
Have a good holiday, everyone.